Hey there YouTubes, this is Grimweird coming back at you with more Project Ozone 3 Kappa mode for Minecraft 1.12.2. We're going to start out today, got a lot of stuff to cover, but we're going to start out today where we left off, which is Landia. So if we head back into Landia, I'll show you what I did. So we had some kerfuffles with the portal. So if you'll remember last time, I logged in down at ground level, threw up a pillbox, a beachhead, little place for us to land, and thought life was good. But then it turned out that I think possibly this wall is too close, or something about this. It wanted to move up to be on top of the solid stuff, so it kept recreating its little dirt landing pad here and new ones of these, and I tried to fix that and make it a little better and whatnot, and just does not want to come here unless possibly I make my tower much wider, and I don't feel like doing that. So as a compromise, we now have two portals, one on the roof and one at ground level, and a ladder. So one of the first things I did here was we dug down, as one does. We'll come back to this cave illuminator in a second. It was, I think, an important thing to do when you come to Landia. But if we come down here, I wanted to dig around at about Y45, Y35, and bedrock. That has a tendency to be where things are. So if we come in here, I've already cherry-picked most of the ore out of the walls. There are lots of natural, if we look here, there are lots of natural tunnels everywhere. I don't know if that's a world building or dimension building setting or what have you, but we're talking Swiss cheese, which actually makes it sort of nice because instead of doing a ton of void mining, I could run around and just pick stuff out of the walls. So you can see things like here, I picked out probably some iron or something from here. So one of the first things I did was I started picking up some new ores. We had some, let's see, what are they? Probably the easiest way for me to remember is to pull out the Materials in You book. And we're talking about Garfax and Morganine and Frisian and Kelline and Racheline. So it was these five. Started seeing some of these. But they required, I think Garfax and Frisian was cobalt level, but then Morganine, Kelline, and Racheline were, I think, mining level 5, 6, and 8, or something like that. So after getting some Garfax and some Frisian, and also some titanium and some tungsten and some sapphire and some peridot and ruby, some other good stuff, I went back to my base. I made Garfax sharpenings for my main pick. And then I came back and I got some Morganine, so I made Morganine ones, and then I came back and got some Kelline, and I made some Kelline sharpening kits, and I came back and got some, or actually Racheline and then Kelline. If we go to Kelline, it is mining level 8, which is the highest. Frisian is 7, Morganine is 6, and Garfax is 5, is what it gives you. And then Landium is obsidian. Tungsten I also found here is diamond. It only took, I think, cobalt level to get Garfax, so that was sort of my entry level into this whole 5, 6, 7, 9 chain, or 7, 8 change. And Racheline is, also 7. So anyway, Kelline is what I've got on here now. If we take a look at my stuff, fortified there in bright green, it says fortified Kelline. So we are at mining level 8. I have not put mining level 8 on my axe or shovel because it's rare for dirts or woods to require high mining levels. But basically I did some of this, and if we go on down, this took quite a bit of time. I did go all the way down to bedrock just to look around. So I came out onto the floor here in a couple of different places. But then we also just went all the way down and did some vein mining, excavating in the main directions here, or most of them. Just looking at what was down here. Didn't see anything too really new or different. I will say that the Kelline and I think Morganine did tend to come down around Y, spawn down lower than the Garfax and the Frisian, so you might need to look around. We also got a ton of rock crystals for Astral Sorcery, and that was actually pretty high. That was up around the 20 to 35 range. So we got a bunch of rock crystals as well. So with this stuff in hand, it of course got me thinking, hey, let's do some Astral Sorcery. That's one of my favorite magic mods. So I wanted to get that started. I wanted to at least get a few things going for it. Start collecting some mana, start making some star metal, etc. And I noticed from up here that there were some big Astral Sorcery structures off in the distance. You can see I've got one out there marked altar. There's another one out in that direction. If we take a look at the journey map, there's a lot of little ones around as well. So I hit a lot of these little ones and the big ones and raided the chests on them. There's another one over here and another over here. So I raided the chests on those to get some initial aquamarines. And so we're good to go there. And I went ahead and checked stuff, and we got the resonant wand was easy to make, just a pearl and 2 aquamarines, so we made one of those. Let's go at Astral. Oops. Astral, if I could type. The initial table, the initial luminous crafting table was easy to make. Didn't even seem to require Starlight, so we could just make one. Oops, something's probably going to shoot at me up here. And so I made one of those, and then what I wanted to do, the 3 things that I wanted to do first was I wanted to get a light well. I was getting tons of rock crystals, which are great for making liquid starlight. So I wanted to get a supply of liquid starlight running. I wanted cave illuminators. If you're not familiar with these, you can place these in the world, and then underneath them, the Y levels underneath them, in a 3x3 grid centered around this, they will spawn little light sources to light up the world underneath them. So those are great for exploring and doing caves and whatnot. And then also, if possible, I wanted to make a linking tool which requires the next stage up, the Starlight crafting altar. What this does is you can link a floating crystal or collector crystal to a spot and do transmutation, which allows you to do things like turn iron ore into star metal ore. So that's this thing here, iron ore to star metal ore. So that would allow me to start getting a supply of stardust, star metal ingots, and what have you. Unfortunately, it turns out that I cannot seem to make, I can't make yet the Astral Tome. It requires a pure crystal from Lordcraft. I know nothing about Lordcraft, other than I don't think I have access to this stuff yet. So we were sort of blocked by not having an Astral Tome, but I thought we could at least, get some stuff going. And that was sort of half true. So if we head out here, let's go ahead and fly over to our altar. So this is why I have a glider and slime boots and a slime sling. Oh, and I overshot. But that's all right. Where do I have it? Down here or up here? I think I took it upstairs. Or maybe not. Oh, yeah, it's upstairs. Alright, bear with me. I haven't been over here for a while because I've been doing other stuff. I've already forgotten what I did. Let's see if we can slime sling up. Or just slam into the ceiling. Alright. That was probably doomed to failure. Oh sure, now I'm lined up perfectly. Here we go. This is where I was trying to get to. So I set this up. When you set this up near a floating crystal, this is a pre-generated one in the world, it will help, especially once you open it up to the sky. So I cleared a path through the sky up above it. So as you can see, we're at full power here. And that allowed me to make a light well. So I took one of the mini rock crystals I was getting from my mining and a couple of aquamarines that I stole from the temples in the nearby neighborhood. And we're getting plenty of marble that we can also chisel into these different shapes. So I made a light well that has allowed us to start getting some liquid starlight. And then the cave illuminator was just another couple aquamarines. I've actually made 3 cave illuminators, one for the base, one for this mine here, and then one to take on the road. The illumination powder was another aquamarine to get 16. So we have plenty of that for getting a few of these out. So that wasn't too bad. Again, had to scavenge a few temples to get the aquamarines, but not a problem. Unfortunately, when I went to make the starlight crafting, this recipe is not too bad. We've made some liquid starlight back at the base. We could use one of the rock crystals. It won't let me do this, and I think it's because I don't have the proper discoveries in the Astral Sorcery tome to have the knowledge to do this, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm missing. So we're sort of stymied there for a moment. What I wanted to do was take these crystals here. If I could get to the second tier crafting table, I could make a linking wand, and then I could throw down some iron ore in this room and the room below us, and click on the floating crystal, click on the iron ore, and actually make some stardust and get that moving too. But that's not crucial. We don't really need any. Actually, the biggest reason I want some right now, and I'm in a hurry for it, is so that I can put night vision on my helmet. But that's a whole different thing. Anyway, let's head on back. These guys are getting on my nerves. But they do drop some nice stuff. Everybody just settle down. I'm leaving. Alright, so that's Landia. Hey, I got some more Landium. Oh, I should have swabbed him. I'll come back to what I mean by that in a moment. The next thing is you might see that I have orange hearts down here. So let's talk about that next. Actually, let's continue on with the Astral Sorcery. I have one last thing to say about that. Here I have 256 barrels of liquid starlight, and here's another 2 barrels of liquid starlight, and I've just been pumping crappy rock crystals into it. I have looting or luck 3 on my cobalt pickaxe. I encountered maybe a dozen or so of these ores down there in the mines when I was running around. Mostly up in the like Y20 to 30 range, I think. So I got like several of these per ore. So I literally had maybe 2/3 of this box full of them. And I've dumped maybe 20 or so rock crystals into here to get that. And sometimes those rock crystals will last like a minute, and sometimes they'll last an hour. So it sort of just really depends. Alright, so now let's talk a moment about the fact that I now have 20 hearts. I have 10 red hearts and 10 orange hearts. And that is from my heart amulet. If we pull that off, you can see I go back down to red. If we equip it, I go back up. If we shift right click it, you can see I have 10 red heart canisters in it, which I assume is the limit. That's what the quest in the quest book told me to make, was 10 of them. So I assume you can have 10 red, 10 yellow, 10 green, and 10 blue, or something like that. But anyway, let's talk about making that. If we go at Baubley, so I've been getting tons and tons and tons of red hearts from my mob farm. And making these is basically a Julie apple. Lots of jewels on this apple. And some wither bones, which we have. We made some armor with some initial ones, but we got plenty more now. And then more red hearts. To make the canisters, this is what slowed me down a bit. You need aluminum and you need an anti-bone. And the anti-bones, there's no recipe for it. Comes from Abyssal Craft. I just assumed we couldn't do it. Assumed we were hosed. And then I was trying to figure out what to do with some of my other cows, and I have a liquid antimatter cow. And I was looking around, and it turns out that if you dip a skeleton, a normal skeleton, into antimatter, it drowns and dies, and then is replaced with an anti-skeleton, and then the anti-skeleton will drop anti-bones. So I thought, well, cool, I can do that, because I have liquid antimatter in here from my cow. So I don't have to wait until Abyssal Craft and all of that garbage. So this little structure is what I was using. Basically, I captured them in a soul vial. I would click them here and they would fall down into there. I would stand over here, they would drown, be replaced with an anti-skeleton, which shoots arrows and sort of hurts, sort of like a normal skeleton. But I could stand here and I could whack on it around this corner without it hitting me with arrows. Took me a couple tries to get this right, so that it was something that contained the antimatter and contained the skeleton and let me hit it without it shooting that and yada yada. But this is what I ended up with, and it's basically just, as you see here. So I did take a little video. I did not have my mic and everything set up, so I'm going to pause here for a moment and show you what I did to get skeletons and to kill these guys. It was sort of fun. I went to the hunting dimension and I basically went Rambo on some skeletons. I ran underneath in my dirt bedrock area, looking at the journey map to look and see where skeletons were, and then I would break the dirt grass out from under them, leap up, grab them in a soul vial, and I grabbed like 2 per trip, and then I came back here and killed them. So that was sort of fun. It's not the most essential way, and I could have easily just ran around upstairs and done it, but I didn't want my witherbone armor to take a beating from everything shooting at me and chasing me. So I'm going to pause here. There will be no narration on this clip, but it's only a minute long, and it shows you what I was doing. Be right back. Okay, so that was how I got my initial hearts done. Now let's talk a bit more about what next. I had my first death, so we should talk about that. I try not to die in these things. It's not, I'm not going out of my way not to do it. I'm not playing hardcore. One of the problems I had was I don't think that I needed to light up the top of an arc furnace in the last mod pack I played. There may have been I don't know why. Bottom line is I didn't need to do it. However, I was over there and a skeleton spawned over here, so I came over here to kill it, and it dropped down behind it, and I came over here and was jockeying around trying to kill it as it was running around, and I touched this MV wire and got knocked back over the edge and fell to my death in the void. So I got my first death down, yay. So if we look at our things, we got a death, and so there's that. Changes over here, I've moved over, so this thing definitely eats up the power, and it will eat up this, especially if I try to run it at night. The arc furnace eats a lot of power, so I moved my MV capacitor over here, just to give another little buffer. So now we got 2 million, 1 million, and then behind here another 1 million. And it's not a big deal. Basically, this thing will do up to like 12 stacks at a time, and I get into trouble if I try to be doing more than 2 stacks at a time in parallel with my current power supply, or if it goes to night time. Another thing we can talk about here is I made some Witchwater, so I made some Mycelium down underneath this barrel. If we take a look here, Mycelium seed is a spider eye surrounded by seeds, and then you just put that down on some dirt. So I made some Mycelium, and when you put water in a barrel over Mycelium, it turns into Witchwater, a dark purple water. You can see it's transforming at 42%, 43%, etc. And then I automated that to basically extract, actually the way it goes is that when this fills up, then this on the brown channel inserts dirt, and only dirt, because there is also tainted soil in here. And then it'll insert dirt in there when this is full of Witchwater. This thing won't accept dirt until it's full of Witchwater, so that's handy. And then this will pull out the item of tainted dirt, tainted earth, whatever it's called, as soon as it appears in there. Then it pulls it out and puts it back in here. So this is sort of a self-contained little thing. And then I did some sieving of tainted soil. And if we take a look at so you got to do that through a flint mesh, but I do have this enchanted to sieve efficiency 4 and sieve fortune 3 now. When I started, it wasn't. There's only a 5% chance of getting the thing that I wanted, which is the Spectre Sapling. But if we just go through here real quick, you can see that you get a variety of interesting saplings, either Darklands or Netherrex saplings, or the Random Things Spectre Sapling, and a bunch of glowing mushrooms like Natura stuff. Sometimes you get nothing, which is not always fun. So there's another Spectre Sapling, 4 Darklands Oak, 4 Dreadlands Wood, some mushrooms, some Ghost Wood, some blue mushrooms, a green glow shroom, bloodwood, mushrooms, yada yada. You get the point. And so now I'm making this. This was the thing I was after, which was I had noticed when I was looking at the hopping bonsais, this sapling makes ectoplasm, and apparently you can do some pretty cool stuff with ectoplasm. Also, the wood is somewhat transparent, translucent, so that's sort of interesting. So the first thing I made with that, let me throw these mushrooms and stuff away. Fuse wood. First thing I made with that is this bad boy, which is a Spectre Illuminator from Random Things. And originally I didn't know it floated to the top, but originally I put it down here, and what it does is it lights up a chunk, and that's pretty much illustrated down here. You can see chunk borders. This chunk is lit up all the way up to 15 everywhere without light sources. I did have a cave illuminator up on the roof of this thing, which is why there are some of those cave illuminator wisps here also. But those sometimes can be annoying, especially if they spawn at eye level. So this I thought was going to be a super cool option for me. I placed it here and it went up, so it floats up to the top of whatever surface, the highest point in the chunk. So it floated up to here. Now the problem with this is that, notice the sort of wobbly rotation winding things there, animation of this thing. Well, it can have a tendency to affect other things. So when that thing is in my field of view, if you look over at the chests under my hopping bonsais, you can see that they are also rotating and wobbling like the Spectre Illuminator. But as soon as it's out of my field of view, so in my field of view, we're wobbling, all of my chest stuff is wobbling, and then outside of field of view, it stops. So that's a problem. I Googled that, and I'm not the only one to have that problem, but there's no fix for it that I'm aware of yet. So I'm still trying to decide what I want to do about that. One thing I can possibly do about that is just move it way up above. Since it goes to the top point in here, I can build a little platform, or 4 little platforms, one for each chunk of my main area here. I can build platforms, straight up about 30, 40 blocks, and then it floated up there, and then it won't be in my field of view unless I look up. And if I look up, I'm not worried about things wobbling anyway. So I might do that, or I might bag it. We shall see. I did log out and log back in, and it stopped doing it for a while. But you can see here my tables are wobbling, my chests are wobbling, my shelves are wobbling if it's in there. So by the time I put 4 of these here, 1 for each chunk, everything will be wobbling, and I can't stand that. So again, platforms way up in the air might be the answer, or I might just bag it. There are other good things to do with ectoplasm, including wireless power transfer. So if we hit the uses here, here's the Spectre Illuminator. Wasn't too bad to make. Mushrooms, which I got from sieving, some glowstone and some glass. No bigs. Spectral Anchor. So Spectral Anchor, supposedly, if you click on it, says items combined with a Spectre Anchor in a crafting table don't leave your inventory when you die. So I can soul bind some more stuff. I might soul bind my tinker's tools, etc. And that's also not very expensive. If we look at that, it's only some iron and an ectoplasm. So I haven't decided if, I'm going to do that. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. You can make Spectre ingots, and there are some potentially interesting uses for those, like a Spectre key, which it says grants you access to your own private room in the Spectre dimension. So that might be a cool place to put something else, sort of like a modular machine, compact machines extra dimension. If there's something I want to put over there, that could be sort of fun. So there's all sorts of little cool things that you can do with this. I have never played with this before, so I'm looking forward to it. And then you can also make these various redstone coils and transfer coils and what have you. So for instance, if we go to like the Ender Spectre coil, it will transfer 20,480, and if we read what it does, it transfers 20,000 RF per tick out of the Spectre energy buffer of whoever placed it into the block it's attached to. You get energy into your Spectre energy buffer using a Spectre energy injector. So basically, if you make a Spectre energy injector, which seems like something we can make or will be able to make. Yeah, we can do that. We'll need to get the magnetic craft, this machine hydraulic press going, but we can make that, and we can pump power into it, and then we can wirelessly move that power out to anywhere in this dimension to those spectral things and slap those on machines. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's all been sort of fun. Meanwhile, speaking of power, I've got now an energetic infuser, and I have made building gadgets and charged them up. So we now have the copy paste gadget, destruction gadget, building gadget, and exchanging gadget. That'll be handy as I begin to now expand our real base underneath here. I also was able to then power up the dark bow, and you can also see I've got a ton of enchantments on it now. So it's an infinity, power 5, insight 3, soulbound, unbreaking bow, with empowered 3 on it. So it's a nice beast. I need to get multi-shot on it, and then I will consider it a decent bow. It'll at least hold me over for a while until I can make a laser gun or something that I like better. So yeah, we've we have got an energy cell. I needed a place to store more power because these things actually make a decent amount of power during the daylight, and I didn't want to waste it by just having nothing going on. So I made an energy cell, and if we look at those aren't too bad. We have a lot of easy stuff: lead gear, iron, glass, no big deal for the frame. The block of redstone sort of shocked me because it's now red alloy ingots to make a block of redstone. So that was a bit of a shock. But these are actually pretty easy to make. And then by the time you put holding 4 on it and hardening upgrade, which is just bronze gear and invar, and then the reinforced upgrade, which is just hardened glass and electrum and silver gear. By the time you get all that onto you, this is now holding 54 million FE, and it's currently up to about 7 million from this charger. So we're starting to save up a little buffer of good stuff. So those are the updates to the power situation. I have also made a compression dynamo and upgraded it to reinforced, and this is going to be able to take our tree oil that we now have from our cows and turn that into power. So I'm looking forward to that. I just haven't had time to put it in place yet. Speaking of cows, now that I know that redstone blocks take red alloy ingots, I've been perpetually sort of running shy on redstone, and that's without doing sieving, so I don't have auto sieving picked up or anything yet. So I haven't been worried about that yet. The only thing that I've really been running short of with the little bit of limited sieving that I've been doing, these sieves, I think 2 of them are Civ Fortune 3, and all 4 of these, or actually 2 of them are Civ Fortune 3, and all 5 of them are Civ Efficiency 4. So I can move through stuff pretty quick, and I just do a little bit here and there, and that's been fine. Redstone is the one thing. Redstone and electrotine are probably the one thing that I haven't been able to get enough of. So this little moo cow over here has been helping me out, which brings me to one thing I want to try. So, gosh, so much to talk about. First, let's talk about this. So the mob farm was getting a little out of control, so I've had to revamp it. And now I have better tools to handle the flow. So now we've still got a advanced item collector coming into a crate, but we've replaced the staircase of double chests and hoppers with just this one small storage crate. And now I'm feeding it straight into drawers now that I have some decent item conduits. These are set up with priority 3, priority 2, priority 1. So things that go to the drawer system will go here first. If there's available partial stack in it, then they will go here. If there isn't, or sorry, they'll go to, yeah, they'll go, I gotta make sure these are really hooked up to 1, 2, and 3. Bottom line is, I might need to move these up a level. No, I think we're probably okay. Anyway, the whole idea here is that they'll go and do here if there are partial stacks available, and if not, they'll go here, and if not, they'll go into the top. And it seems to be working so far. I got nothing in the top. I'm adding things to drawer 2. So I've added some of this stuff to drawer 2. And then drawer 1 is full, or shelf 1 is full. This is still blacklisted for bags, so this thing is still picking up anything that it can pick up. And then I've got a filter coming into here, which just allows bone and inferium essence, because these are things that I want to throw in a crafting table and condense into blocks of bone and block of inferium before I move over to storage. And I've now, I don't have big filters yet, so basically just to get around that, I have 3 items whitelisting stuff that I want to throw away coming into here. So these are the things that I'm throwing away, and these are priority 10. So this is 3, 2, 1. This is priority 20. So before anything else happens, the inferium and the bone go in there. Then anything that isn't inferium or bone that is whitelisted for trash goes into the trash, and then anything that is left over goes into the shelving unit. So that is all fun. So let's take a look at what else is going on up here. I was looking for ways to collect experience, and I have never used mob utilities, but there is this neat little mod pack, which most of you are probably familiar with because I think it's in a lot of Feed the Beast mod packs called mob utilities. So I've upgraded some of our stuff with this junk. I did put in a light so I could turn it off while I worked on it. So flick a switch and these 4 redstone lamps come on. And if we run back downstairs and open it up, you can see I've replaced our stone spike with a mob utilities. What's it called again? Anyway, you guys know what it is probably. Mob grinding utilities. Iron spikes, because that was part of a quest we had to do. If we look here, where was that? Here, mob grinding utilities. So basically, for this one, we had to do iron spikes, an absorption hopper, a mob fan, and a singularity tank. So you can see we've got. Oops! I sent my my piece of wall over to my stuff here. I also, now that I have conduits to make this faster, I have these stacked together and remove the hoppers here because Ender IO stuff is faster. Doesn't back up so much when I vein mine. So I got the spike there. Here's the tank. Here's a faucet, so we can open the faucet and get experience out. Here is the hopper. You can see I've got fluid going to the north and to east. So that's into the tank that we made. There's the wobble effect of my Spectre Illuminator. And then spill over here. I've got a 256 barrel here, which is actually getting sort of full. What I'm not doing here is this doesn't have any way that I can find to filter it. So the problem with that is that if I let it, it will pick up bags, and I want the bags to preferentially go to the bag storage. So basically I have blocked its item pickup by putting dirt here, and then that allows all of the items to be handled by my system down there, which splits the bags out. Also, while I'm up here, you can see that I needed, for some recipe, I needed some actually addition stuff or some extra utility stuff. So I needed, I believe it was some moonstone for something, and I believe for that I needed stone burnt. So I made a resonator and some stone burnt. Made a resonator, made some stone burnt, made some solar panels, and then made some fire mills here. So we now have 45 grid power during the day, and this will be 36 at night, I think. So that's what's going on with that stuff. And that allows us to now get the extra utilities junk going on. Here's my resonator. I was making lunar reactive dust for a moonstone that I needed for something. I forget what. So what else? Let's see. I talked about that. Carrot. I did find a carrot seed, like a K-A-R-A-T carrot seed, for this mod over here. To get into this stuff, so I've made 2 carrot, but it didn't give me back seeds, so I guess I need to go find more seeds. I guess I find them by breaking grass somewhere like Landia. I just found one lying on the ground, so it must have been one that was generated during world spawn where some grass broke when a structure spawned on it. Let's see, what else? I think I mentioned already, but I do have now a atomic reconstructor, so I can start using that stuff. And basically I want to get into Ender IO, and the last thing I really need to start making a serious dive into Ender IO is probably an empowerer. Is that why I need it? I need the empowerer for something, so I can make empowered Inori crystals and empowered yada yada. I forget exactly what I need it for, but an empowerer and Ender IO are high on my list of what to do next, and we're getting there. What else? I also made gem armor. Last time I mentioned that now that we were getting gems from sieving netherrack ore or netherrack from the nether, and we also found sapphire, ruby, and peridot ore in Landia. So now we have plenty of this stuff, and so I have made some of it. It's pretty good protection, and it seems to be plenty enchantable. This one's up to 6 enchantments. Mending, Feather Falling 4, Depth Strider, Unbreaking, Shadow Step, which was a new one for me, but it basically reduces the detection range for monsters to hear you coming. And Fire Protection 4. We got Protection 4 Unbreaking and Mending on here. We got Iron Wall, which I guess reduces knockback. And Fire Protection 4 and Unbreaking 3 and Mending on the chest. And Soulbound, Unbreaking, Respiration, and Mending on the Sapphire Helmet. This thing, the Enchanter, is cool, and it was much cheaper than I expected it to be. I actually looked at the recipe just to see what I might be able to do with it in the future. Enchanter. And went, oh hell, I can build this easy right now. It was only 4 dark steel, a book, and 2 diamonds. And the dark steel we could make in the smeltery, obsidian, coal, and molten iron. So that was a piece of cake. So I made this guy, and then I've also been using this book as well here, because sometimes it's cheaper and you get better stuff on here, and then sometimes it's easier to do things more directed there. So I got lots of enchantments on my sieves. As I said earlier, all 5 of these are Civ Efficiency 4, and 2 of them are Civ Fortune 3. My bow is Infinity Power 5, Unbreaking, Soulbound, Insight 3. I need to get multi-shot on it, but multi-shot requires an Ender IO machine, so I need to make I need to make some of these skeletal contractors to get multi-shot 4 on there, and then that bow will be a piece of work. It will be mighty effective. What else? Let's see. So I got the armor. I remember one of the things that was bothering me was I didn't think I could get into some of this stuff because I didn't have Black Quartz. So it was extra utilities, maybe? Well, one thing is I didn't have many of these because you don't break a lot of redstone ore, but then I realized you can make them by chopping up, glass cutting a ender shard, an ender pearl into ender shards to make these guys. So that's how I made the fire mills. That's how I got the little pieces to make the fire mills, these little guys, resonating redstone crystals, to make all that stuff up there. Was I split up an ender pearl. And then what else? Oh, I didn't think I could get into actually additions because I didn't think I had access to Black Quartz. So when you're here in Black Quartz, I hadn't seen any Black Quartz ore, which is what I was sort of expecting. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm screwed. I can't get into an Empowerer. I can't make Inori crystals and Restonia crystals and all that garbage. I am humped until I find some Black Quartz. But what I did not realize is you could actually craft it. And the reason I didn't realize that is it's sort of hard to find where that is. In fact, it doesn't really tell you very easily, but basically, in case other people run into this problem, you can make Smokey Quartz, which is just basically some coal or charcoal surrounded by nether quartz to give you Smokey Quartz, and then the uses for that is that you can then smelt Smokey Quartz into Black Quartz. So as soon as I found that recipe, I was like, brilliant, I can get into this. I can make an atomic reconstructor, and I can make an empowerer, and I can start removing that roadblock from some of the stuff I want to do. So that's exciting. So there will be that kind of stuff coming up. One of the last things I guess I want to talk about was when I was looking through this at mob grinding utilities, I saw there was this GM chicken feed and mob swabs and things like that. I did make an ender inhibitor and put it on top of my mob farm. They didn't escape, but occasionally like ghost endermen would teleport out into my base and freak me out as they were dying. So we got rid of that. But I wanted to figure out what these whole swabs were and stuff. So I made some GM chicken feed, and if we mouse over this, you can see it contains move fluid, entity mood fluid cow, or fluid cow. Now, what I'm hoping that if I feed this to a chicken, which is why I have a couple chickens here, I'm hoping that if I feed this to a chicken, it's going to turn into a redstone fluid cow, or at least some fluid cow. Egg. So I've got an egg. It says spawn fluid cows. And so now, alright, so it didn't give me it did not give me a destabilized redstone one, which was what I was hoping, but it has given me a a radioactive water cow. So that is going to be a way for me to potentially generate more variety of cows here. So that makes me very happy. So I'm going to use that system to get some stuff. So in between this episode and next, things I might want to swab. If we look at the mob swabber, it is just wool and sticks. And I've got tons of wool coming out of my mob farm from all the demon sheep. So I can make a lot of these. They don't stack, unfortunately, but I can make a lot of them. And I can swab things like a landlord to try and get Landia. I can do all sorts of stuff. I can swab I don't know what all I'm going to swab. I might just swab things to make a library of things to use later. So carry swabs around, 4 or 5 of them, and then just create a DNA collection so that later when I have access to a powered spawner from Ender IO or a mob duplicator from Industrial Foregoing, I will have things monsters available to capture and use. So that's exciting. That's the first time I've done that, and I'm new to the mob grinding utilities mod, and I like it. It's good stuff. The only thing I wish is that the mob grinder had a filter on it, but we can work with that. Anything else? I was sort of hoping to get a duplicate of my destabilized redstone cow, because then I could start breeding them and make a herd of redstone cows, because we're going to need that to infuse signalum. We're going to need that to infuse some other stuff, and etc. But hey, at least now I can get to more varieties, and I can look for other valuable cows. So at bare minimum, I'm going to do that. So radioactive water uses. It's a room temperature, I guess. Decay hastener. Okay, whatever. Doesn't look like it has any important uses that I am catching real quick here. So that's probably a loser of a cow. Where are you, new cow? You're a disappointment. Hold still. Anyway, so I'm going to make more swabs and swab more cows and blow up more chickens to get more spawn eggs for moo fluid cows, and see if I can get some more variety and interesting stuff, because for some reason, possibly because I have too many animals already in the neighborhood, things have stopped spawning over there. But yeah, I guess another thing is I can't remember if any has spawned since I claimed it, so I will unclaim it and call it wilderness again and see if that causes things to start spawning there again. Hadn't really thought about that, but I think at some point I did claim it, and maybe the fact that it's claimed, it shouldn't, because this was claimed and chunk loaded and things were spawning here. Oh well, anyway. I'm going to pause here and see if we have any time left, and if so, I do have a couple more things we could talk about, but we might be near the end, so I'll be right back. Okay, we got a few more minutes left. I haven't really started building down here. I did want to pop down here and just show you how different that Spectre Illuminator works. I mean, you can see it just totally lights up that chunk, so that's really nice. I like it. I just got to figure out what to do about the whole waddling thing, because I don't think I can stand that in the long run. This went away when I logged out, but now it came back after a while after I'd been logged back in. So I think what I'll do is you can get rid of these by, I don't want to do it now because I have no torches down below and everything would start spawning down there. But I think what I'm going to do is just build straight up 30 or 40 blocks and place it up there outside of my field of view, and then see if that works for me. And if so, I'll do these other 3 chunks of my center area so that I can get all these torches out of the middle of my base. What else am I working on? I've got some of my to-do stuff in here. Let's see, I'm about done with Witchwater. Probably don't need to do too much more of that. It is nice to get a few more glowing mushrooms and whatnot. So coming up in between this episode and next, oh, I also made a factorizer. I needed a block of coal for some recipe, and I was highly annoyed when you cannot just make a block of coal. You can't just make a block of coal on the crafting table. You have to like either pour it out. I could have made it through the smeltery, but basically I ended up just making a factorizer because I knew I was going to need one eventually. And then to conserve room, I put a box here and a box here, and I ran all my coal because I actually had quite a bit of it because I got quite a bit of coal ore in Landia when I was running around. So if we go coal, so you can see I've got almost 3 stacks worth of coal. So we're doing good on coal. Oh, and I think I remembered why I desperately wanted to get into actually additions. Is it the dank null? Oops. Dank null. Yes, empowered Restonia crystals. This is why I was like, where's the black quartz? Where's the black quartz? I want a dank null. And for that, I needed an atomic reconstructor to make Restonia. And then we've got to make an empowerer. And this is not too bad to make, I don't think. I need a Restonia crystal. And black quartz. So that's why I needed black quartz so desperately. And Restonia and Ori crystals. Got to have the access to that. And one of these. Actually going to need a total of 5 of those. But again, all of this stuff comes through the atomic reconstructor. Iron casing, again, we need black quartz. So basically all of this looked impossibly hard because I didn't know where the hell black quartz ore was. And then finally, and I think I didn't even figure it out, I think I Googled it, like where the hell to find black quartz ore in PO3. And that's when I saw somebody mention that you could smelt the Smokey Quartz into black quartz. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. Thank you, internet strangers. I have a lot of bags here. Legendary loot bags, 590. Artifact loot bags, 147. So that's good. This is holding up well. The new system is holding up well. I could probably handle cursed earth in there now. So I'm tempted to maybe jack that up just to ramp up the amount of ender pearls and a few other things that we get. So I'm going to think about that some more. But yeah, so energy cell, I might make another one of those. Oh, the power, I got to set up the power. Got to make some augments for my compression dynamo, and I got to figure out what I'm going to set it up, where I'm going to set it up. I haven't really used thermal expansion dynamos before. I think I had one and I used it a little bit, but I usually had other power sources going on. So that'll be a bit of an experience. I got to figure out what to do with it. I'll probably set something up and feed it into this bad boy. It's at 8.7 million out of 54 million. So yeah. Fill my bow back up. What else? I think that's about it. I think we can call it an episode. Phew, got through a lot of stuff. I I need to figure out the next dimensions as well. So got to do some Googling and figure that out. I want to go places and do things. I don't like not having stuff that I want. And by that I mean, you know, there are various gates and things like that. Like I want to go to Twilight Forest because there's probably stuff there that I want. But for this, I need this glimmer crystal. For that, I need whatever this thing is, an exchange tablet. So I might look into getting this going because I would like to open up Twilight Forest. I'd like to find some place with some Botania flowers. So much like I've now got 258 buckets of liquid Starlight here for when I actually have the ability to like turn myself loose on Astral Sorcery. I'd like to do a similar thing for Botania. Now I don't need to get to the end of Botania right now. I've got tons of other stuff to do. But what I learned in Enigmatica 2 Expert, which I actually finished, but what I learned there is that if you can get some things going ahead of time, and then when you're ready to roll, it makes things so much easier. Like all of this liquid Starlight, that might be all the liquid Starlight I need ever. And I have it before I'm even really getting into Astral Sorcery. And I'd like to do the same thing with Botania Mana. I'd like to get some mana pools and some Indoflames. And I don't need to do everything in Botania, but when I get around to Botania, I'd like to have tons of mana ready to roll, even if I have to store it all in, like, you know, a chest full of mana tablets, filled up mana tablets. So that's the kind of thing that I like to do. Again, I don't have to do everything because I got tons of stuff to do, but it really helps if you can sort of prep your journey by getting some of the essential components made up ahead of time. All right, that's about enough babbling for one episode. I'm going to play around with my compression dynamo and feeding it tree oil. And I got 190 buckets of tree oil, which 190, I think tree oil makes 400,000 per bucket. So 400,000. That's going to be millions and millions. That'll be enough to hopefully fill this quite a ways up, if not more so. I can't do math in my head right now. I'm too tired. And then I want to make that Spectre injector thing to inject that into a wireless network. And I want to make some of those spectral doohickeys so I can have wireless power so that when we start making more and more powered machines, that we can actually get that power around our base here, because running cables everywhere is going to suck in a sky block situation. So that's it. I'm going to end here, and I will talk to you again next time. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a like. This channel is not monetized. I'm not looking to make a buck, but if people watch and like it, then I will keep making these videos. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.